Good day, Masonry students! Today, we are going to learn about the basic Masonry materials and tools. Following are the basic Masonry materials. Veneer mortar, a specialized type of mortar that is enriched with polymers to help the veneer masonry units stick to vertical surfaces. As this mortar can be quite expensive, use this material only for veneer stones and be sure to mix it sparingly in small batches. Portland cement, lime, silica, alumina, iron, and gypsum in a mixture. Portland cement comes in 50 and 100-pound bags. Aggregate, a material composed of sand or sometimes gravel. Mortar, the mixture that you use to get the masonry unit to stick together. Grout, a mixture of Portland cement and some sand. Grout fills the seams between the masonry unit. Concrete, a mixture of Portland cement, sand, and gravel. Rebar, reinforcing bars or rebar are steel bars that are added and embedded throughout masonry to increase its strength. Masonry or masonry units is each individual brick or block.
A brick jointer is a finishing tool designed to smoothen the mortar-filled joints between bricks. To use a brick jointer, hold the handle with the outside of the flat edge against the wall. Press and run the brick jointer along purpins and mortar beds to flatten the joints uniformly. Continue the process until you have evened out every purpin and mortar bed on the wall. You have now learned to use a brick jointer. The mason's chisel and hammer are used to flatten the uneven sections of a wall by chipping away extra bits of dry mortar and protruding bricks. Remember to wear your safety glasses, safety gloves, and a safety mask. To use a chisel, hold its handle with the blade facing down and pick up the hammer with your free hand. Grasp both instruments firmly. Position the chisel at a close angle with the surface of the wall and strike its head with the hammer. To chisel away the protruding sections of a brick that extend beyond its line, work in thin layers and eliminate slowly so that you do not break away more than what is required. When chiseling away surplus deposits of dry mortar, do not break away the mortar beds and purpins. Once you have finished chiseling the wall, sweep the dust off the floor and maintain a clean working space. You have now learned to use a chisel. A measuring tape is a flexible ruler rolled up into a handheld dispenser. It displays linear measurements marked on a retractable strip of tape. To use a measuring tape, first hook the grab onto one end of the measured object. Here it is a wall. Pull the roll along the length of the measured surface. Make sure that the tape is aligned with the wall or the surface you are attempting to measure. Make a note of the measurement in the required unit. When making a note of the measurement, make sure that you are standing right above the point that you are marking. You have now learned to use a measuring tape. The metal brush is an abrasive tool used to clean surfaces and tools. To use a metal brush, clasp it firmly and work the metal bristles against the surface to remove any drying bits of mortar stuck on it. To clean your tool, dip it into a bucket of water and brush it clean with the bristles of the metal brush. Once you have brushed the tool, use water to wash its surface clean. Ensure that your tools are cleaned at the end of each day. You have now learned to use a metal brush. A metal float is a tool with a smooth metallic plate that is applied on flattened layers of mortar and concrete during surface finishing. Hold a metal float by grasping the handle firmly with one hand. To plane a surface, position the plane against the surface without any tilt, such that it makes full contact with the wall. Create sweeping motions, applying very little pressure against the mortar. Repeat the process until the surface appears as smooth as the metal plane. You have now learned to use a metal float. A mortar pan is a vessel made of steel or rigid plastic used to hold or carry sand, cement, mortar and concrete. To use a mortar pan, fill it with a quantity of material that you are comfortable with carrying. Lift the mortar pan with a straight posture to avoid injury to your back. Hold it close to your body and straighten yourself to lift. When applying mortar, place the mortar pan near the area of application to make your work easier. You have now learned to use a mortar pan. A shovel is used to manually shift large quantities of cement and aggregate. To use a shovel, clasp the D-shaped handle with one hand and hold the shaft closer to check with the other hand. Thrust the tip of the blade into the material and scoop up a load that you are comfortable with carrying. Carry the loaded shovel to where you would like to move the material. In this case, a measuring box. Now, tilt the shovel and let the material drop. Repeat the process until the measuring box is filled over the brim. Use your hand to flatten the sand so that its quantity is in line with the opening of the measuring box. You have now learned to use a shovel. The spirit level consists of 2 or 3 tubes filled with a liquid such as ethanol and a single bubble of air suspended in the opposite direction from gravitational pull. To use the spirit level, place it on the surface whose level you would like to check. Wait for the bubble to settle and ensure that it is properly centered in the tube. If the bubble is not centered, make adjustments until it indicates a level surface. You can do this by varying the thickness of mortar or by applying pressure on the brick with your hands or a trowel. Change the position of the spirit level to make sure that it conveys an accurate reading. When measuring the comparative level between two distant objects beyond the reach of the spirit level, you may place it on top of a straight edge to bridge the gap. If the bubble indicates an uneven surface, remove the straight edge and spirit level and make the necessary adjustments before taking a second reading. Make sure that you take your reading from a right angle in order to avoid error. You have now learned to use a spirit level. A trowel is a tool that consists of a flat metal blade held by a short handle. It is used for mixing and applying cement, mortar, and concrete. To hold a trowel, grasp it with 4 fingers wrapped around the handle and the thumb pressed down towards the blade. When using a trowel to mix mortar in a pan, use a stirring motion of the blade. To create a mortar bed, apply a layer of mortar wide enough to accommodate the thickness of the wall. When laying a course, scoop up a small amount of mortar using the blade and apply it onto the side of the brick that will make contact with the previously laid bricks. Once a course is complete, pick up mortar using the trowel and press it into gaps and curtains between bricks to fill them. When finishing a surface, scoop up the mortar from the pan using the trowel and flick it against the surface of the wall with a quick motion of the wrist. Repeat the process till you've reached the desired thickness of mortar. You have now learned to use a trowel. A wooden float is a tool with a smooth plane that is applied on freshly laid mortar and concrete during surface finishing. To use a wooden float, hold the handle firmly with one hand and position the plane against the surface without any tilt so that it makes full contact. Floating involves applying pressure against the surface in order to compact the layers of mortar and eliminate air gaps. Apply extra mortar to fill up any dents on the surface. Create sweeping motions, applying light pressure against the mortar. Repeat the process until you have removed all imperfections and are left with a smooth, flat surface. You have now learned to use a wooden float.
Now that you already know the basic masonry tools and materials, stay put for your next activity.